There is a single kind of mistake that topples even the strongest. It is not a miscalculation of tactics, but a misjudgment of mercy. You give, you forgive, you endure, and you tell yourself that makes you good. Machiavelli would call that not compassion but weakness. It is wearing virtue as a mask. He warned centuries ago that it is rarely the enemy who ruins you. It is the friends you try to save. Society applauds self-sacrifice, but power never truly lives with those who refuse to recognize limits. Every time you rescue someone who refuses to change, you betray your own intelligence. Some people do not need saving. They need to fall, because when you haul them up, you risk being pulled down with them. Machiavelli named this folly kind-hearted stupidity. It is an illness among the capable. A quiet poison that robs the competent of their throne because they cannot bring themselves to walk away from the weak. Listen closely. This may be the hardest truth you have ever accepted. Kindness has its borders. If you fail to establish them, the world will impose its own boundaries on you. Today we confront what most people evade. Not everyone deserves your mercy, because limitless pity becomes self-destruction. There are 6 types of people who will cost you your energy, your reputation, and your soul if you try to save them. If this truth strikes you, prove it below by typing, "I protect my power," because awareness is the first act of strength. Number 1. The ungrateful and the shameless. There are people to whom you give your heart, and somehow it is never enough. You lift them from the dirt, and they complain the ground was too cold. You pull them from the water, and they blame you for not swimming faster. Then it hits you. Not every act of kindness is returned with gratitude. Machiavelli called this the paradox of compassion. The more you give, the less power you hold. Not because you are weak, but because the ungrateful see kindness as a duty, not a gift. The grateful understand that help is a choice. The ungrateful believe it is a debt owed to them. You help them today, they smile. You stop tomorrow, they rage. In their minds, you were never a savior. You were just temporary staff in the service of their needs. Listen carefully. Gratitude fades quickly, and when it does, it transforms into entitlement. Machiavelli observed a chilling truth about human nature. People forget kindness faster than cruelty. Evil wounds them, but goodness makes them feel indebted, and no one likes to owe anyone. You know this type. They borrow money, and you lend it. They ask for help, and you set aside your work to support them. At first, they thank you. Over time, the gratitude thins out, and one day, it becomes a complaint. You did not help enough, not fast enough, not in the right way. And when you stop, you are the traitor. The ungrateful do not see generosity, they see opportunity. The more you give, the more they believe everything belongs to them, because they think they deserve it. Be honest. You have met these people. They drain your energy and still make you feel guilty for leaving. The world is full of them. They do not need you. They need your energy. They do not crave kindness. They crave a reason to complain. You think they are victims of life. But in truth, they are masters of emotional manipulation. They do not steal your money. They steal the meaning of your generosity. Machiavelli once warned rulers, "If a favor is not remembered, stop before it becomes an obligation. Because once kindness turns into duty, you have surrendered your power. You are no longer the giver. You are the one begging to prove your worth. And the ungrateful know this game too well. They will keep you playing as long as you stay seated. Stop playing. When gratitude dies, the relationship dies with it. Remember this. A favor unreturned with gratitude will soon be repaid with contempt. Write this down. Kindness without boundaries becomes submission. In the game of power, Machiavelli understood this truth. The wise do not demand gratitude. They read its presence or absence as a signal. When gratitude is gone, the connection is over. A grateful person grows stronger from what you give. An ungrateful one grows weaker, because they believe their strength depends on you, not themselves. And when you leave, they curse the world for their fall. You have seen this in love, in family, in work. You help them fly, and they forget the wings were yours. Then they crash, and blame you for the wind's betrayal. Let that sink in. You cannot save those addicted to being rescued. Machiavelli would not hate them. He would simply observe and say, "Gratitude survives only when power remains balanced." When one gives too much, respect evaporates, because human instinct never honors dependency. We respect only what we fear to lose. So what do you do with the ungrateful? Not revenge, not bitterness, only silence. Withdraw your energy, not in anger but in awareness. Silence forces them to face reality. The supply is gone. And when no one gives, they finally meet themselves, empty and ungrateful. If you have ever seen your kindness turn into someone else's entitlement, write below, "My silence is power," because sometimes silence is the only language truth understands. One day, they will remember you, not with love, but with awakening. You gave them the harshest lesson of all. What happens when the river of kindness runs dry? And you, instead of resenting them, will smile. Because once you no longer need to be thanked, you rise above the game of the ungrateful. You stop living for recognition and begin living in true freedom. Emotional independence. That is Machiavelli's lesson. Gratitude cannot be demanded, but ingratitude must be cut off. If you let it live, it consumes every good thing inside you. Do not fear being called cold. The world does not need more kind people who are exhausted. It needs strong ones who know when to stop, who can say calmly and clearly, "I no longer help." That is not selfishness. It is awareness and control, the twin foundations of real power. When you understand this, you will never fear losing anyone again, because the ungrateful may take your time, your energy, your heart, but they can never take your worth. Number 2, the perpetual sluggard. There is a kind of person who can drain even the strongest spirit, not through malice but through weakness, and they want you to carry that weakness for them. They complain, they sigh, they narrate their endless tragedies about how life is unfair and how everything is hard. You feel sympathy. You help. You think you are doing something noble. But Machiavelli would simply smile and say, "You are not helping them. You are feeding a parasite. Those who strive use your hand as a step to rise. The lazy use it as a hammock to rest. One side feels grateful, the other entitled. One stands tall, the other lies down. They know exactly how to make you pity them. Their stories come soaked with tears and drama, just enough to keep you from walking away. But here is the truth. They do not suffer because of fate. They suffer because of choice. And kindness toward those who refuse to change is a slow knife cutting through your own self-respect. Listen carefully. Each time you rescue the lazy, you are not helping them. You are betraying yourself. When you give more than someone has earned, you teach them how to exploit you. The lazy are masters of emotional blackmail. Help them once, they see your softness. Help them twice, they see your fear of saying no. Help them 3 times, they know you will never stop. At that point, you are no longer helping. You are paying for the image of goodness you have built for yourself. They know how to make you feel like their savior. Without you, I'd be lost. Just this one last time. But you and I both know, the last time never comes. Every time you save them, you sabotage their evolution. You convince them they can survive without effort. And when they fall again, they learn nothing except that someone will always catch them. That is when you become a prisoner of your own kindness. Stop and ask yourself, are you helping them rise or keeping them comfortably broken? In nature, a mother bird does not feed a grown chick that refuses to fly. An old tree does not nurture a dying branch. Not out of cruelty, but because discipline is nature's form of mercy. Humans are the only species foolish enough to believe that saving someone from consequences is love. Machiavelli would say, Love without limits is just stupidity wrapped in poetry. The lazy must feel hunger. They must hit the bottom. They must suffer enough to awaken. If you shield them from that pain, you rob them of the only moment capable of awakening their survival instinct. You are not helping them live. You are helping them die slower. Let that truth sink in. Sometimes, mercy is the most elegant form of cruelty. Most people who keep helping are not motivated by goodness, but by fear. They fear the guilt of saying no. That is not compassion. That is weakness, dressed as morality. You are not protecting them from pain. You are protecting yourself from your own darkness, the part of you that craves being needed. Machiavelli once said, "The weak never see the true nature of kindness. It is a tool, not an obligation. And when that tool is misused, it turns into a weapon against you." So ask yourself, is your kindness a gift or a chain? The lazy know exactly how to exploit that fear. They do not beg. They perform. They do not threaten. They make you feel guilty. And you, desperate to preserve your image as the good one, surrender under the weight of your own empathy. Cutting them off is not hatred. It is saying, "I respect your path, but I will not walk it for you." When you withdraw your hand, you are not abandoning them. You are returning the responsibility they tried to escape. In Machiavelli's world, every relationship is an exchange of energy. If one side only takes while the other only gives, that is not love, it is spiritual servitude. Write this down. You were not born to carry others forever. You were born to define the limits of your kindness. Sometimes, the most powerful lesson you can offer someone is silence. Ask yourself this. Without me, what would they do? The answer always reveals the truth. If they could stand, they already would. If they truly wanted to change, they would not still be waiting for you. Every time you save them, you are casting your vote for their stagnation. The wise understand that the more you give, the more you lose. Not in wealth, but in respect. The lazy do not respect their saviors. They secretly despise them, because deep down, they know they have made you yield. And when someone manipulates you into acting against reason, they have already won. Listen closely. Mercy, without intelligence, is a slow form of suicide. One day, you will have to do the hardest thing. No explanations, no apologies, just walk away. No harsh words, no arguments. Simply step out of the cycle. It is not cruelty. It is awakening. Machiavelli wrote, "A ruler does not save those who choose slavery. The wise do not save those who refuse to be saved. They let silence do its work, because silence is often the most painful teacher a weak soul will ever meet. The lazy are not short of chances. They are short of will, and every time you rescue them, both of you lose. They lose their chance to grow, and you lose the energy to rise higher. Not everyone who needs help deserves it, and not every cold act is cruelty. Sometimes it is the highest form of compassion in the world of power. If you have ever carried someone who refused to walk on their own, write below, "No more parasites," because awareness is how the strong reclaim their peace. Number 3, the arrogant and the self-satisfied. There are people who never need saving. Not because they are strong, but because they believe they can never be wrong. They listen only to reply. They ask questions only to prove they already know the answer. And when you try to help, they look at you with pity, as if you are the one who needs enlightenment. Machiavelli knew this type too well. He called them prisoners of the illusion of wisdom. They do not live by reason. They live in the shadow of their own ego. You bring them light, and they turn away, because light exposes how small they truly are. The arrogant do not fear failure. They fear being corrected. They can be poor, lonely, or broken. But as long as they whisper, "I know better," they feel safe. You cannot help someone like that. They are not looking for help. They are looking for worship. Listen carefully. The hardest people to awaken are those still applauding themselves. Machiavelli once wrote, "The self-satisfied are not strong. They are simply too weak to admit their weakness." Every piece of advice you give is treated as an insult. They argue, resist, and reject, not to find truth, but to defend the imaginary throne in their minds. The arrogant are fogged mirrors. The more you try to wipe them clean, the more they shatter. They will call you jealous, disloyal, or condescending, anything to avoid seeing themselves clearly. And when they finally fall, they will not blame their pride. They will blame you for trying to warn them. You cannot teach someone addicted to the sound of their own voice. You have seen them before. The coworker who never listens. The friend who knows everything. The relative who calls your honesty disrespect. They do not want truth. They want applause. The more you try to convince them, the deeper you are pulled into their maze. They make you question yourself. You start lowering your voice, afraid that honesty might wound them. And that is when you surrender your power. Because in Machiavelli's world, truth only holds value when spoken into ears capable of hearing. To the arrogant, every truth is an attack. He once said, "You cannot teach someone who already believes they know. Every lesson becomes an insult." The arrogant do not learn through words, they learn through collapse. Only when they hit the ground, only when the world stops revolving around them, do they finally look up and see the light. And then they remember the one who tried to warn them, the one they mocked. Let them fall. Reality teaches what words never can. You do not need to hate them. Let reality do what your mercy cannot. Nothing educates faster than the downfall of pride. A Machiavellian leader never saves the arrogant. He simply raises a mirror and walks away. Because no one can see their reflection, while their eyes remain closed. When you meet someone like that, watch them as you would a play. Do not argue. Do not try to change them. Every word you speak will be twisted. Every good intention will be treated as an attack. And when they explode in rage, smile, because that fury is not aimed at you, it is aimed at the truth they cannot bear to face. Remember this. Arrogance is fear in disguise. The louder they speak, the weaker they are. The more confident they appear, the more terrified they feel inside. But they will never admit it. To them, humility feels like death. Machiavelli once said, "You cannot be the master of someone who believes they are already a king." That is why he chose the cold wisdom of non-interference. No rescuing, no correcting, only observation, only patience. He knew that sooner or later, they would destroy their own throne. And when arrogance collapses, it does not crumble gently. It falls like a decaying tower. The one who once shouted, "I am right," will whisper, "I was wrong." But if you arrive too soon, they will rebuild the same wall that trapped them before. So let time teach what you cannot. Silence is the final teacher of the arrogant. One day, they will sit among the ruins of their certainty and remember your silence. Not your words, but the calm way you walked away. And in that moment, they will understand. Your silence was not contempt. It was a higher form of kindness. You do not need to win an argument to keep your worth. The arrogant need an audience. When you walk off their stage, their performance ends. So know when to be silent. Silence is not surrender. Silence is execution. In Machiavelli's world, the wise never try to fix the self-satisfied. They withdraw with the composure of someone who already knows how the story ends. When you grasp this, your anger toward the arrogant fades. You begin to pity them, because they live inside a prison built from their own pride, clutching a key they will never use. That is the tragedy of arrogance. Machiavelli said, "No one can be saved if they refuse to believe they need saving. Let them go. Redirect your energy toward those who listen, who learn, who remain humble, because only they are worthy of your wisdom. If you have ever warned someone who mocked you, only to see them fall exactly as you predicted, write below, silence wins, because sometimes walking away is the loudest truth you can speak. Number 4. The ignorant who refuse to learn. There are two kinds of people who fail. The first stumbles, rises, learns, and changes. The second stumbles and blames the ground. Machiavelli called the second kind the incurably ignorant, not because they lack intelligence, but because they reject wisdom itself. They do not want to understand. They want to be right. They do not seek truth. They seek comfort for their mistakes. You have met them before. Always in crisis, always losing jobs, friends, money, always betrayed, always unlucky. And they say, "I do not know why this keeps happening to me." But look closer. It is not the first time, not the second. It is a pattern that repeats endlessly. Listen carefully. You cannot awaken someone addicted to their own suffering. Machiavelli would never save such people. He understood that no medicine is stronger than consequence, and no advice is weaker than words alone. The ignorant who refuse to learn are like those who jump into fire and curse the flames for being hot. You can pull them out, but they will leap back in, because they learned nothing the first time. They do not learn by watching. They only learn through pain, and when the pain fades, they forget. They see no link between action and result because they believe life happens to them, not because of them. That is the difference between wisdom and ignorance. Take note. The ignorant see patterns as accidents. The wise see destiny in repetition. The wise see design in everything. A careless word can destroy a bond. A single decision can alter a future. The ignorant see nothing. They separate action from outcome, and therefore never take responsibility. You can tell them 1,000 times. You can explain, you can warn, you can guide. They will nod, thank you, and do the same thing again. Not because they are cruel, but because they are addicted to the familiar cycle. Ignorance carries its own drug, the comfort of what is known, even when what is known is killing them. They would rather suffer in the old pain than be free in the new uncertainty. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men would rather endure pain within an old order than seek freedom within a new one." Remember this. The ignorant are not lost because they cannot learn. They are lost because they will not learn. That is why the ignorant cannot be saved. It is not a matter of understanding. It is a matter of refusal. You cannot open a door for someone who refuses to walk through it. They will come to you in despair. They will say, "I need your advice." You will believe them, but soon they will fall again, using the same excuses, feeling the same pain. You will grow weary, like a doctor prescribing medicine to a patient who throws it away and returns saying, "I am still sick." Let life do the teaching. Pain is the only language the ignorant truly understand. Do not rescue them. Let them stumble. Let them pay the price. Let consequence do what your compassion cannot. Only after they have tasted enough bitterness will they begin to value understanding. The ignorant reveal one truth. Their problem is not a lack of wisdom, but a lack of discipline. You can read 1,000 books, but if you never face yourself, you remain a fool. Yet a person who makes mistakes, confronts them, and learns becomes wiser than 100 who keep running from the truth. Here is your mirror. Growth does not begin when you learn. It begins when you stop running. Machiavelli did not believe in awakening through words. He believed in awakening through collision. Sometimes kindness means stepping back and letting someone reach the bottom, because only at the bottom do people decide to rise. Remember this. If you save them before they are ready, they will drag you down. Not from malice, but from ignorance. They do not know how to swim. Do not let your compassion become a chain. Do not waste your wisdom on those who refuse to think. Wisdom poured into emptiness means nothing. Keep it for minds that listen, for souls that seek. As for the ignorant, let time teach what you cannot. Machiavelli once said, "You cannot save the ignorant, but you can avoid becoming ignorant because of them." That is the greater lesson. If you have ever tried to guide someone who refused to change, write below, "I let life teach." Because sometimes silence delivers what words never can. Do not hate them. Do not despise them. Just do not let them pull you down. Every time you bend to lift someone who refuses to stand, you abandon your position of power. And once you stoop too low, it becomes harder to rise again. Sometimes, to protect your wisdom, you must walk away in silence. Not in judgment, but in self-preservation. It is the discipline of the wise. Because if you spend your life on those who refuse to learn, you will have nothing left for those who truly wish to change. And Machiavelli would call that the greatest betrayal. Not against them, but against your own wisdom. Number 5. The wicked and the cruel. There is a kind of person Machiavelli would never save. Not because they are ignorant, but because they know exactly what they are doing and still choose to do it. In his world, ignorance can be forgiven. Deliberate malice cannot. Because once evil becomes a choice, it stops being a mistake. It becomes a strategy, a repeated, calculated, and controlled decision. They know who they hurt. They know their words are lies. They know their actions are poison. And they continue, not out of confusion, but out of pleasure. Cruelty gives them a sense of power. Listen carefully. Evil is not chaos. It is discipline without conscience. Machiavelli once wrote, "The wicked do not need education. They must be stopped." When you help someone like that, you are not doing good. You are supplying oxygen to their darkness. They will use everything you give them, your trust, your time, your sympathy, as fuel for more harm. The wicked do not feel remorse. They only regret being caught. They do not seek forgiveness. They seek refuge. And those who keep helping them become silent gatekeepers of the shadows. You have seen this before. The betrayer is trusted again. The liar is given another chance. The manipulator is called misunderstood. And the good fall into their own trap, convinced there is goodness in everyone. But Machiavelli never believed that. He understood that some people choose darkness not because they are lost, but because they prefer it. Light makes them uncomfortable, because light forces them to face themselves. Stop telling yourself they will change. Some people evolve. Others simply adjust their masks. In the game of power, the wicked are clever. They never appear as monsters. They cry. They confess. They whisper, "I have changed." And you, in the name of compassion, open the door again, only to watch them steal, destroy, and disappear, leaving you with broken trust and a nameless exhaustion. Machiavelli would not blame you. He would simply say, "It is not kindness that weakens you. It is undisciplined kindness." When you help the wicked, you lose more than energy. You lose moral clarity. You stop being a healer and become an accomplice to darkness. Mercy, without judgment, is a weapon that evil uses against you. The wicked do not need a second chance. They need consequences. Only when the world turns its back. Only when every door closes. Only when there is no one left to exploit will they finally face the emptiness inside themselves. But if you keep rescuing them, you delay that moment. You keep them blind. And one day, you will find yourself not far from them, lying to protect, justifying to feel good, and calling weakness compassion. That is how evil spreads, not through violence, but through misplaced compassion. The world is not short of good people. It is short of discerning ones. Because kindness without intelligence becomes the perfect tool for the wicked. Machiavelli understood this. Sometimes the most moral act is to refuse to help. Remember this. Light only wins when it stops feeding the darkness. If you truly want goodness to prevail, let the darkness consume those who choose it. Look through history. Every fallen empire shares the same flaw. Evil was not destroyed from the outside. It was protected from within by the soft-hearted who believed they were saving it. Those who thought they were helping were in fact shielding its growth. That is why cruelty never dies. It only changes its clothes. It hides behind pity and wears the mask of a second chance. That is why Machiavelli warned, "When compassion has no boundaries, it gives birth to monsters." The wicked do not fear your kindness. They fear your awareness. Because once you see clearly, emotion no longer controls you. You stop fearing the word cold. You stop needing to be called good. You become something unbearable to them, a good person with limits. And that is when they lose their power, because evil exists only through the permission of the good. When you withdraw your trust, they suffocate. They destroy themselves because darkness cannot live without an audience. If you have ever forgiven the unforgivable only to be betrayed again, write below, "My mercy now has limits," because awareness is the shield that turns compassion into power. If you want to see true justice, do not look to the courts. Look to nature. Everything that loses balance collapses when it is no longer fed. Do not play the role of a god. Do not try to save a soul that has chosen its own prison. Step back, watch. Let consequences do what mercy never could. That is not cruelty. That is wisdom. Number 6. The manipulator. It is not the wicked or the foolish who drain you the most. It is the one who makes you believe they need saving. They do not use force. They use emotion. They do not steal your trust. They make you want to give it away. Machiavelli called them masters of pretense. They do not steal your wallet. They steal your will. They do not demand. They make you feel guilty for saying no. And they always know how to tell a tragic, noble story, just convincing enough to make you want to be the hero in it. When you meet someone like this, they never ask directly. They begin with weakness. "I do not know how to handle this. I am not as strong as you." They make you feel special, as if you are the only one who understands them. And in that moment, they hook the first thread into your heart. You think you are helping, but you are already caught in their web. Because once emotion is involved, reason begins to fade. You stop asking if they are sincere and start thinking they need you. Listen carefully. Manipulation never begins with control. It begins with empathy. Machiavelli would observe and say, "The genius of the manipulator lies here. They make you perform foolish acts with the full belief that you are being kind." The manipulator understands human nature perfectly. They know you crave being seen as good. They know you fear being called cold. They know that one well-timed sigh can make you do the rest. Then they make you sacrifice. You give your time, your money, your energy, but most of all, your attention. Because attention is the true currency of power. Whoever controls your emotions controls you. Once they have that, they no longer need to ask for more. They sit still, and you do the rest. You chase, you explain, you apologize, you fix things that were never yours to fix. Pause for a moment. If they control your emotions, they already own your freedom. One day you find yourself exhausted yet afraid to lose them. That is when they have already won. Not through strength, but through obsession. The manipulator does not care about truth. They care about outcome. If they can make you feel guilty, they win. If they can make you feel the need to prove yourself, they win. If they can make you justify your actions, they have already taken your power. They switch roles effortlessly. Today the victim, tomorrow the hero, next week the judge, and you are always the one forced to make things right. Machiavelli called this the art of shifting roles within soft power. They never need to threaten you, because emotion binds tighter than chains. You even begin to defend them, saying things like, "They did not mean it, they are just hurt. They are not bad, only lost." Yet every excuse you make becomes another link in the chain around you. Ask yourself, how many chains have you built in the name of empathy? And when you are finally empty, they will leave without guilt. Worse, they will tell others that you were the one who caused them pain, because a manipulator never leaves quietly. They always need a new stage, a new villain to blame. The truth is simple. You cannot save someone who uses you as a tool. You cannot help someone whose survival depends on draining you. You have only one choice. Cut the chain. No warnings, no explanations, no pleas for understanding. They already understand. They just do not care. Your silence is their ending. When you stop reacting, the performance ends. Because when you go silent, they lose their stage, their control, their audience. Remember this: the manipulator does not need your love. They need your reaction. Every response is energy. When you stop reacting, they fade like smoke. A Machiavellian mind does not get angry. It observes. It studies the pattern. Then it withdraws, calmly and quietly, knowing that the moment you stop reacting, you reclaim your power. Write this down. Detachment is not coldness. It is protection. The manipulator is the final test of compassion. They force you to choose between emotion and logic, between saving them and saving yourself. If you choose wrong, they will teach you the most expensive lesson of all. Kindness without boundaries is emotional self-destruction. Machiavelli would conclude, "Not everyone who stirs your sympathy deserves your help. Some only deserve your distance and their own reflection." When you are strong enough to walk away, you do not lose empathy. You regain dignity, because a manipulator can only survive when others fear loneliness. And when you no longer fear being alone, you become something they can never touch, a free soul. If you have ever cut the chain of someone who drained you, write below, "Silence is my freedom." Because the moment you stop reacting, you begin to master your life. When Machiavelli looked at humanity, he did not see angels. He saw illusions. He saw people mistaking weakness for kindness and guilt for love. He warned, "When kindness surpasses intelligence, it turns into a weapon against its master." You were not born to save everyone. You were born to discern who is worthy of being saved. Helping the wrong person does not make you good. It only delays their growth and erodes your own strength. True compassion is not endless giving. It is knowing when to close your heart before it bleeds out all the wisdom inside it. Coldness is not cruelty. It is intelligence guarding its energy. And once you understand that, guilt disappears. You no longer walk away in shame but with calm awareness, whispering to yourself, "I turn away not because I hate you. I turn away because you need a lesson I cannot teach." This is the final law, the law of disciplined kindness, the law of Machiavellian compassion. When you master it, you stop chasing approval. You stop rescuing chaos. You become free, steady, and untouchable. If this truth has awakened something within you, write below, "I choose awareness over guilt." And remember, no one truly saves anyone. We only show the way.